The Senate opened former President Donald Trump's historic second impeachment trial on Tuesday. Trump is charged by the House with inciting a deadly January 6th mob attack on the Capitol to overturn the election in what prosecutors called the most grievous constitutional crime. Trump's lawyers are insisting that he is not guilty of the sole charge of incitement of insurrection, but prosecutors say he has no good defense and they promise new evidence. Joining us now from London, England to talk more is Dr. Kai Dewar. Dr. Dewar, we're still shocked for sure by the fact that the rioters did storm the Capitol on January 6th. 5 people have died. It stunned the world as rioters stormed the building to try to stop certification of President-elect Joe Biden's victory. We are now in a place where, former President Donald Trump, historically, the second time that he's being impeached, and now that we're in this trial, share your response from where you sit.
Well, Nietzsche, there are two very, very startling facts in what's happening with President Trump's impeachment at the moment. Number one is Speaker Pelosi has been responsible for 50% of the impeachment trials in the history of America as a nation. And then the second thing that we should be dealing with is the fact that in the days running up to this protest that turned into what mainstream media labeled an insurrection, merely an incursion into the Capitol building, there were multiple warnings from the FBI and the intelligence community to the DC police, to the Capitol Police, that there was a potential for violence. There were multiple offers from the White House for National Guard troops to be deployed. Days before this happened, the mayor of DC completely ignored that, chose not to accept help, chose not to involve other bodies and use the intelligence being gathered. So with all of the foreplanning that is now evident from evidence gathered, to lay the blame for this solely at the president in what were possibly constitutionally protected remarks of free speech at a public rally, far less insightful, far less vitriolic, far less inflammatory than comments made by the now vice president, the current Speaker of the House, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, in her tenure during the previous Congress, and multiple others, to say that his comments and tweets and refusal to accept an election was tantamount to an insurrection is, from somebody looking from the outside in, nothing short of an absolute farce.
Dr. Kai, I'm always perplexed when I hear a defense to whether or not former President Donald Trump incited this craziness on January 6th. And so I have to ask you, what did he do to stop it? Because from my perspective, where I sit, all I saw was a person who, wrestled the fire in the months, weeks, and days ahead, who stirred up an audience. And when the day came, I did not see him stand anywhere and stop anything. What I did see, in the statement that some are saying that he did calm it down by the video that he released, in the moments or during when this was happening. I just don't see that. I don't see the efforts and where former President Donald Trump did anything to stop this. I don't see where there were any efforts to prevent us from having 5 people who were killed in the midst of this, many who were injured, and now a Capitol situation where security is way different than what it was before January 6th. I cannot imagine that an entire group of people is sitting in court or in the Senate or taking their time to fight this over just an assumption based upon what they actually believe to be true.
But Nietzsche, that's all this is. This is an interpretation of what the Democrats have decided was the evidence that they are going to present to incite an insurrection. It's how they have interpreted what the president said. The president, and I watched the whole speech. I've watched it multiple times. I've gone through the transcript with a fine-tooth comb. The president repeatedly talked about peaceful protest, never mentioned an insurrection, never mentioned storming the Capitol building. The intelligence community, for days in the run-up to this protest, were giving the DC police, were giving the mayor of DC intelligence briefings from themselves and given to the White House to show there was already prior planning for an insurgency, as they've labeled it, an insurrection to happen. You cannot in all good conscience, with any credible thought, lay the sole blame for this at President Donald Trump. And this has become, for all of us that are watching from outside of North America, this has become an absolutely nonsensical witch hunt to impeach a president no longer in
Kai, I'm
office,
so sorry.
using interpretation
We're at the end of this
that's
segment,
too vague.
But certainly we'll all be on pins and needles, obviously, to see what the outcome is of this impeachment trial. Dr. Kai, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Nietzsche. It's always great to be with you.